Welcome back to Great Day. For our next guest, wine is practically in his DNA. He grew up in one of the premium grape growing areas in America. Today, his D11 Cabernet has been named the top red wine at this year's Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. Please welcome Jared Burns from Revelry Vintners.
Thank you. Morning. Happy Mardi Gras.
All right, this is the time of year where we kind of have a whole lot of fun in this area because we've got Mardi Gras and rodeo kind of coinciding together.
Yes.
Okay, you just got back from Mardi Gras. Actually.
I did, yeah, I did, absolutely. I have family in New Orleans, and I was there through the weekend and popped over here to see you. So
yeah.
I actually brought you some beads right from the, these are from the Iris parade.
Wow, your sister's crew,
Yeah,
huh?
my sister's crew, yeah.
Pretty awesome,
Yeah,
that's pretty
absolutely.
cool. All right, so I mentioned rodeo. That way of life is nothing that's strange to you.
No, it is not. I had a nice, diverse upbringing in throughout the Northwest. Our family operates a cattle ranch in northeastern Oregon, and then we live a couple hours north of that in Walla Walla, Washington, where we grow wine grapes. And
you actually competed in competitions growing up.
Growing up, I did, yeah. But here at the rodeo, we were awarded a saddle for top red wine this year, which I never did win rodeoing myself. So
right?
Ironic, right?
That is amazing. That is so cool. Okay, so when it comes to the wines, you did rodeo life in the cattle ranch you mentioned.
And by the way, we should start with.
We should start drinking.
We should have some wine.
We should start drinking. He says.
Yeah.
All right. This is our
rosé. So this is always a nice way to start. So this is. Rosé is essentially red grapes made in a white wine making style. So this is a unique blend. It's Cabernet Franc and Grenache, which are two grapes.
This is really good.
Not often blended with one another, but they sure complement each other nicely, I think.
Yeah. All right. What also complements you is in the wine business. We mentioned it was in your DNA. Your dad was also an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And there's one invention he did that kind of works with wine.
Yeah. When I was real young, he loved wine, and he had some sporting goods businesses and that dealt with plastics. He went on to invent the synthetic wine cork, which solved a big problem in the industry at the time, which was wines being spoiled by the cork itself being tainted. So that was really my first exposure into wine. And then later, of course, I ended up in Walla Walla in the southeastern quarter of our state for college, and saw people making wine and just became more and more enamored with it.
What was that decision where you finally said, okay, I want to actually not just drink wine, I want to create it?
So when I started the winery, it was in 2005. I was 24 years old, and I was just absolutely falling in love with wines from our home state after trying wines from all over the world. And Washington's an amazing place to make wine, but it has a really beautiful, appealing flavor profile. And just seeing the other people making wine that they had learned from one another and we're so sharing of ideas, that's really what inspired me to try my hand at it.
Yeah.
So.
All right. The thought behind Revelry.
So Revelry has some great meaning to me. I have the fondest memories standing around a kitchen island much like this, only I was knee higher, a little higher, and my parents always had a nice bottle of wine open and friends over, and Revelry means a boisterous celebration, but the definition I first read below that said often involves drinking, and I figured out, reminiscing why everybody was having such a good time. So, Revelry has great meaning.
Going back to what you said, it was a bottle of wine open and people were over, because one of those things that brings people together. Wine
brings people together wonderfully.
Yeah.
And I think that speaks really to why we're here with the Houston Rodeo and Livestock Show and their wine competition. They do so many great things for kids in the community.
I want people to understand what we're talking about here when we say the wine competition. Over 3,500
wines from 19 countries were submitted this year, which is incredible.
Okay, take us through the process. So you have to decide which one you wanted to enter, and it's this one right here?
Yes, it's the D11 Cabernet Sauvignon. We grow predominantly Rhone and Bordeaux varieties, so grapes that traditionally come from the Rhone Valley of France and the Bordeaux region in Washington State. And the Cabernet Sauvignons are really known for scoring incredibly high by classic critical review. We've got many wines that have scored repeatedly 100 points within Washington State. And so our D11 Cabernet comes from a series we call our aerial series. So the label shows an aerial shot of the vineyard block from which this fruit comes. And there is literally nothing else blended into this. This is all grapes from one singular block. So what we're trying to express here is place and how special these places are, and each
Because
bottling is different.
Each place in that plot of land determines what that grape is going to be like, which will determine what this is going to taste
exactly.
like.
And so when the opportunity to submit a wine into the competition came across, my desk earlier in the fall, I knew this was the one wine we needed to submit. So we only sent one wine, and we ended up winning top red wine.
I got to tell you, we were at Rodeo Best Bites the other night, and
Yes.
people were walking away going, "God, that was really good. That was really good."
Yeah.
You can even the smell of it, see, actually, all of it, and that's what you're judged on is everything.
Yeah, right. The aromatics, as we say, the texture, the flavor, the palate feel, and this particular block, as we call it, vineyard block. The Cabernet Sauvignon fruit is just so complete that it doesn't really require any other grape varieties or sites to create this complete wine.
All right, there's a buckle. We love the buckles,
Yeah.
and then there's that saddle. Okay.
And there's that saddle.
Yeah.
Now, I had won buckles in the past, but as I mentioned, never a saddle, and so this is quite the deal, and it has great ties to my roots.
Yeah.
So
Take us through how they notified you.
Yes, I got a phone call. Early in January, I believe it was, and they said, "We can't tell you what you won, but we can tell you won something, and that you should
you only entered
be
one,
here."
right? So,
yeah, exactly. The invitation was the real fun story. As I mentioned, we only sent one wine. We won some buckles in 2016, and so being a rodeo guy, I thought we won the whole deal. And I show up, and there's saddles and chaps, and I said, I need to try my hand at this again.
Yeah.
And if ever the right wine came around. And so rather than submitting multiple wines, we just went with this guy.
That's the other thing this business teaches you is patience, right? You say
Patience,
whenever
yeah.
the right wine comes
Absolutely.
around, because you can think you have a good grape, you can think the soil is right, the weather was right, everything was right, and then you go through your fermentation process, and then timing is everything.
Timing is everything, and every vintage is different, and we try to be really respectful of that and let each wine be different.
Yeah. Well, I want to be respectful of the wines that you brought
Yeah.
and taste this one right here. I don't want to leave this one, untasted.
Yes, so
right?
what this is, and this is really fun to do side by side. So this is the same root stock of Cabernet. So.
Okay. So same rootstock of the award winner.
Yes.
Right.
So it's what we call Clone 8 Cabernet. It's the most popularly planted clone in Washington State. But these are two very different sites. And so as I was mentioning earlier, these wines really showcase place. So the D11 comes from a vineyard called Dionysus, which sits on the Columbia
Greek
River.
god of wine.
Wine and revelry, yes.
Wine
exactly,
and revelry, yes.
Red Mountain is a site known for very small berry size, which gives it a lot of tannin, the texture in the wine. And so it's a much more robust, firm wine with a lot of grip.
Yeah, and you can see the difference.
You can see the difference. But by all rights, they're essentially the same thing, just planted in different places. And they evolve in different ways.
I am emceeing the wine auction for the Eastern Livestock Show
yes,
Rodeo.
I will
so
be
you
there.
will be
I will
there.
see you there.
Yeah, and this is where these bottles of wines will be sold for like astronomical prices, but that money goes
incredible.
toward the scholarships for kids to go to college and their higher education. So that's got to make you feel good too.
It makes us feel great. And we are very philanthropic, and our sort of test is that we want to do things that benefit children. And so this checks all boxes for us and is a lot of fun.
It used to be a time where wines were for the elite because there weren't as many wineries out there. And so now we know that we can grow grapes almost anywhere.
Yes.
And so there's a lot more competition out there. And you were joking in the green room when you say, who's drinking all these bottles? All of us, right?
Right.
But when it comes to choosing a wine, your best advice, because it is intimidating when we walk up and we look at a shelf, it's like there's just a ton of stuff there.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think, certainly shop within your price point. There's great wines at all price points.
Yeah.
Coincidentally, the top white wine in this year's competition is a dry Riesling from Washington State.
I tasted that the other night.
And it's not an expensive bottle of wine at all. So there's great wines to be had at all price points. Find somebody whose palate you trust or who is willing to learn what you like. Just as you might get a recommendation for, a hairdresser, right? Don't go at it blindly. Find somebody to ask, and then pay attention to what it is that you do like about wines, and keep asking questions, and don't be intimidated, because that's the worst thing you can do. Wine is all about variety, so just keep
wine
trying.
is taken off when you can go to Hobby Lobby and actually get a plaque that says, don't show up without a bottle of wine.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Right? So it's really cool. It's really fun. And as you said before, it brings people around the table.
It does.
Thank you so much, and
Absolutely.
congratulations, and
Thank
I
you.
will see you at the wine
Yes.
auction. The D11 Cabernet from Revelry Vintners will be available for purchase at the Rodeo Houston Wine Garden. And for more information on all of their wines, we have a link on our site, greatdayhouston.com. And you cannot say Revelry a lot if you've been drinking, okay?